There is a popular saying in leadership that if you think you're leading and there's nobody following you, you are only going on a walk. On this platform, you are going to learn principles of leadership. You are going to encounter different leaders. You are going to learn about how you can grow as a leader, how you can make an impact. My name is Ayim, and I'm the host for the leadership platform. I am a leadership coach, a lawyer by profession, a John C. Maxwell certified coach. I have been in corporate life in senior positions for several years, and now I run the Center for Transformational Leadership, where we train and coach leaders to become better leaders. And I invite you to go on a journey with us as we discuss the subject of leadership in the coming weeks.
This and every Saturday, you have opportunity to ask questions, share your views on important leadership matters.
We spend a lot of time developing our professions, but we don't spend time developing ourselves. Look, as a leader, as a professional, you have to grow. You have to grow yourself. And to be able to grow yourself, you need to know yourself. A lot of us are not achieving the maximum we can achieve because we have not invested in our personal growth. So we are bringing you this special studies based on John C. Maxwell's book, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And we're going to just spend time with you and help you go through the principles that you need to be able to grow your person, to become a better person. Because if you become a better person, you become a better leader, you become a better father, you become a better professional. Do not miss this opportunity, as the masterclass is going to be very practical and discussional. It is going to be a limited number of people. So please register now to be part of the program.
Hello everyone, my name is Elsie and I'm excited that I just completed a 15-week journey with the CTL Africa team on the 15 Laws of Invaluable Growth by John C. Maxwell.
From the law of pain, I also learned that every problem introduces a person to himself. Honestly, till you face a problem, you wouldn't know the things that you actually have within you.
The journey for me personally was a wake-up call. Before I joined this journey, I wasn't actually learning at all. I wasn't adding any logic to what I knew.
So the law of trade-off is saying that you have to give up to grow up. So things that I think are not going to have maximum impact on my life, I have to trade them off.
I want to grow. I am not stopping now. I am continuing. And as far as I'm concerned, like it says, you cannot give what you don't have. I definitely will have to give what I have learned off to others and then get more so that I can continue giving. I am not going to be a reservoir. I am going to be a river, and therefore I'm going to continue learning to be able to give of my best.
Ordinary people can achieve extraordinary results on a consistent basis if they have a system, if they have a plan.
Hello. Good evening and welcome once again to the Leadership Platform, which we bring to you every Saturday at 7 p.m. GMT. It's great to see all of you here again joining us, and I can see that Emmanuel Wulu Woolendole is already here with us. So welcome, and I believe others will be signing up and introducing themselves. So my name is Sarah Jessie Apia, and great to be here again with you. This platform has been live for over almost 3 years now, and this year, 2022, today will be our last time when we take a pause to reflect and to re-energize to enter the new year. So that is exactly the subject that we are bringing to you today, where we will have no other person than our host and of this platform, Samuel Ayim, who will be our guest speaker for today. So I will encourage all of you who have joined us on Facebook or on YouTube to introduce yourself so we can, as Sam will always say, introduce you to the world. Many of you join us and you never take the time to put your name in the chat, and I'll encourage all of you. Today is your last chance to do so. So please do it, and for all of us to be here as a community to listen into Sam. So 2022, we started off coming out of the COVID season, and not even out. We didn't know what 2000 had for us. And so many has happened. We've had variants of the COVID virus, and the Lord has kept all of us until this time. So we want to stop here to reflect and be thankful for how far the Lord has brought us. And today we'll have ways in which we can reflect intentionally and in a structured way. Sam will be sharing this with us. For those who have not been on this platform before, you will be able to get to know Sam. He is a John C. Maxwell coach. He is the host of the Leadership Platform. He is the CEO of the Center for Transformational Leadership. He's a lawyer by profession. He's a motivational teacher and speaker, and he has a lot of experience in this field as far as being a lawyer. So if you have any legal issues, he will also be able to coach you and to advise you. So let's see, it's still just Emmanuel who is here with us, but I know that our team, headed by Kofi, is also here with us. So Sam, since no one is introducing themselves, I'll just have to ask you to come onto the screen and to share with us what you have really prepared for us as to how we can best reflect throughout what has happened to us this year and how we can enter into 2023 on a positive step. So over to you, Sam. Take us away.
Thank you so very much, Sarah and Kofi. And we know that so many of you are connected, just that you don't introduce yourselves, but we appreciate your presence, and we acknowledge and value you, because we know that on Saturday evenings, there's so many things you can do with your life, but you decide to share part of your Saturday evenings with us because you want to learn, you want to grow. And that is the purpose of this platform. We want to give you the opportunity to learn one thing or the other every week. And so we bring different leaders to do this. And as Sarah said, we've been doing this for almost 3 years now, and so many people have benefited. The lessons are up there on YouTube, on our website, and you can go through them and learn them. We bring experienced leaders. We bring people who are passionate about the subjects we talk about, mainly on leadership and on personal growth. So there are lots of information on how you can become a better person on our website and on our YouTube channel, CTL Africa. Yes, the year is drawing to a close, and so we decided that today will be the last Saturday before Christmas. So we want to wish all of you who celebrate Christmas a Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year, because we will come again onto the platform after New Year. So we wish you all the best ahead of the Christmas, and hope that you and your families and your teams have made good progress in 2022 despite all the challenges. Indeed, there have been lots of challenges. Wherever you are in the world, 2022 has been very eventful and challenging. Well, we thought 2020 was probably the worst in several years when we had COVID, and lots of us have to be shut in, and lots of us have to learn to work from home, and so on and so forth. That's when the leadership platform was also birthed. So this is one of the positives that we have. But 2022, we thought everything was finishing, but it didn't. And we have a new set of crises, economic and financial crisis. We have war in Ukraine, which has caused a lot of disruptions in supply chains and, created hyperinflation across the world, and so on and so forth. So a lot of people have been under pressure. This has added to your normal pressure, the work that you do. You wake up in the morning. If you live in the city, you wake up in the morning and you have to rush to catch public transport. Even if you have your own transport, you have to rush and move quickly so that you can beat the traffic and go to work on time. Even if you are staying home, you are a mother, you are taking care of your children, or you're a father who is taking care of your children and you're staying home. You wake up in the morning and there's one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. And before you realize the day is ended and you haven't done much, and you're wondering if you're going to finish all the things on your to-do list. Life is like a rat race. And you're doing this every day, every week, every month, every year after year, until those of you in formal work, you are at 60 and you announce that you're going to retire. And you now begin to look back on your life. Am I 60? Am I retiring? 60, 65, 70, depending upon what you do. And your life has been like that. The question is, all this that is going on, how do you reflect? With the demands of life, it's become very difficult for a lot of us to reflect. Our particular situation in our modern days is even worse. Now, gone were the days when some of us grew up in the village. Yes, you wake up, you walk how many kilometers and go to school or go to farm or to go and fetch water, and it was difficult. But at least by 6 p.m., 7 p.m. is night time, and you have enough time to sit around the fire and, tell stories and reflect on the day, reflect in the olden days, and tell lots of stories throughout the evening before you go to bed, because there was no TV, there was nothing. But today in our world, you have your TV and hundreds of channels are crying for your attention every moment. You also have your internet, a blessing, but which is also giving us a lot of challenges these days. Social media, your Facebook, your WhatsApp, your LinkedIn, your Instagram, your TikTok, and all those are crying for your attention. in addition to your work. So the challenge is that many of us are not able to stop within all this cacophony of noise and speed. It's called real time. The world is going so fast, and your boss can see you whether you are online or not online. Your emails are building up. People will send you a lot of junk mails, and you're bound to look at them. So a lot of us don't have time to stop intentionally to reflect on our lives. So this evening, we're going to share with you a few ideas on how you can reflect on your life. And Sarah, I'm just wondering if you are seeing my slides, my
Yes,
slides. Do
I
you
can
see?
see your slide. Yes, we can see the
All right.
coverage.
So I'm looking at this point at what are the things we want to achieve this evening. Given the background that I have given, I want us to see how, or the need for us to pause intentionally and to reflect on our lives. I want us to share a few ideas on how our mind works, and therefore the need for you to pause your mind and reflect. I want also, number 3, for us to learn some quick ideas about personal reflections for growth. How do you reflect as an individual so that you can grow? Then I want us to look at reflection and team leadership. As a leader, how do you introduce reflections? How do you reflect with your team so that reflection become part of your leadership process? And finally, a word on the power of meditation and reflection, because the idea of reflecting requires you to stop and focus on your mind. So we'll just say a word. We won't have too much time for that because of our time constraints. But these are the objectives we are setting ourselves. We know that in life, there are different occasions that call our attention to stop. You know, your birthdays come. Sometimes there is a death in your family. For religious people, there is Easter and Christmas and Ramadan and so on. Other religious occasions will call you to reflect. But the reflection we are going to suggest to you is not these formal occasions that just give you reflection. These are very good occasions that you can think and reflect. When a dear one, you've lost a dear person, a loved one, a mother, a wife, a child, it causes you to stop and reflect. When you've lost something big, you begin to think through. When you had an accident, or when there is you are struck with some kind of sickness, that causes you to stop and reflect. But those are not intentional. A lot of the time, they are not planned. What we want to suggest is intentional reflection. Because to grow as a person, you need to do reflection intentionally, because growth does not just happen. And if you don't reflect intentionally, then you're not going to grow. All right. So I start with John C. Maxwell's quote on the law of reflection. And John has a book on the 15 invaluable laws of growth, where John teaches about taking your personal growth intentionally. And there are 15 great laws about how you can grow personally, become a better person. How do you become a better person? And one of the laws in the 15 invaluable laws of growth is the law of reflection. If I remember, it's law number 4, the law of reflection. And the law of reflection simply states that learning to pause allows growth to catch up with you, because you're running every day. And so you need to learn to pause. And I recommend that you get John Maxwell's 15th Invaluable Laws of Growth and read in particular on this subject chapter 4, or law number 4, the law of reflections, where John discusses in detail with case studies and workbook questions to help you to learn to reflect intentionally. So that's the law. If you learn to pause, growth will catch up with you. In other words, if you are growing, if you want to grow intentionally, you have to make reflection an intentional part of your growth process. And as you pause intentionally and reflect on your life, reflect on your activities, reflect on who you are, who you want to become, the things of the past and the things of the future, it will help you to have ideas as to whether you're making progress or not. And that is so important. And he calls it a law. If it's a law, it means that it has no respect for a person. It applies to all of us, whether you are a man, woman, child, old, whether you are young or whatever. It doesn't matter what generation you live in, whether you live in any other generation. It doesn't matter your nationality or religion. That law of reflecting to allow growth to catch up with you would apply to you. It's just like the law of gravity. You don't have to believe in it or not believe in it. It will catch up with you. If you don't respect that law, you break it. In other words, if you don't intentionally pause and reflect, what is going to happen to you is that your growth is not going to be as you want it. You may grow accidentally, but what we want you to do is to grow intentionally. All right. So that is the law of reflection. Now, Henry J.M. Nguyen says that when you are able to create a lonely place in the middle of your actions and concerns, your successes and failures slowly lose some of their power over you. Now, our successes and our failures have power over us. Many of us have been discouraged because we lost something. Either you started a business and you lost it, you applied for a job and you didn't get it, or you ask for a date of a woman in a part of the world. Is a man who asks for the date and you are refused over and over again. And those failures can have some power over you. They can break your spirit and they can actually weaken your confidence and your self-esteem. In the same way, your successes can actually have power over you. In other words, they can help make you either a better person, or they can actually also make you complacent. Because you're winning all the time, you will feel that you are the Superman and there is nothing that can happen to you. And that kind of attitude can affect you in some ways. When you become complacent, you don't ask the right questions. So your successes and failures have power over you. But when you are able to stop and reflect and think on your life, even on your successes, how you are able to achieve that success, it enables you to learn the lessons so you can repeat those successes. And when you reflect on your failures, you can find why you failed, and so you can avoid those failures in the future. So reflection is so powerful, and we want to encourage you to do that, because all great leaders in from generation to generation have had this habit of stopping and reflecting and thinking. You read about Nelson Mandela. When he was even in prison, one of his key activities is to find time, even in the prison, to reflect. So that is the power of reflection. And I hope that this will help us to pick the pieces that we are going to go through carefully. So pause, the power of pausing. Life, as I've said, is running so fast, but pausing is necessary. It's necessary and it's important for the following reasons. Number one, when you pause and reflect, it turns your experience into insights. You are able to learn why things happen the way they did. So you are, as I said, you are always being rejected. You're writing applications and the applications are not going through as they are. Have you taken your time to find out why is it that every time you send your CV, you are rejected? Pausing to reflect on that experience can probably give you some insight. Did you look at the job content properly? Did you look at the organization? Did you compare the requirements of the job with your background so that you found that you actually fit the job? Was the wording of your CV appropriate for that job? You go for interviews and you don't make it. Do you sit back and reflect? If you do, that experience will help you. We often say that experience is the best teacher. Now, John C. Maxwell tells you that experience is not the best teacher. What teaches us is examined experience. So experience is not the best teacher. People go through a lot of experiences and they don't learn anything. The only way you can learn and benefit from your experiences, good or bad, is to pause and reflect on them. And that is when you get insight. We'll come to that a bit more in detail. Everyone needs time and place to reflect alone. It's very, very important that you find a time, regular time, intentional time within your schedule, whether it's daily or whether it's weekly. You need to find time and place to reflect. Everyone needs this because it will help you. Intentional pausing expands your thinking, because when you pause and think, it begins to the muscles of your brain, your thinking power, begin to stretch. Just like when you're stretching your physical body, you strengthen your muscles. In the same way, when you pause and reflect, you are strengthening the muscles of your thinking. And that is very, very important. If you're a leader, it's even more critical that you pause, because that pausing will help you. It's very important for your success with yourself, with your team, with your leadership, with your processes. So pausing to reflect is so critical and important. All right. So what do you do when you pause, when you reflect? Is it just stopping and just sitting idly by? No. There are a few elements that have to go into that process of reflection. And there are 4 I's that I'm going to share with you. And this also is coming from John Maxwell's book that I referred you to. Go back and look at it. There's much more discussions around that. That when you are pausing and when you are reflecting, you should look for 4 I's that you should do. The first one is investigation. When you pause on your experiences, find the meaning in each of the experience. So you have a boss that does not like you, or things don't go well. Your relationship with that boss is not going well. You feel you're doing everything right, but things are not going well. Pausing, reflecting means you have to ask yourself some questions. You have to investigate that experience and ask, why is this relationship not going well? What do I do wrong? What can I do better? What is his view of me? Is it about my work? Is it about my attitude? Is it about my emotions? Is it about the way I talk? Find meaning, investigate, ask yourself questions. That is intentional reflection. It's not just worrying. Worrying is different, where you're just fixed in one place and you cannot move. You're stuck. That's worrying. But when you are reflecting, you are investigating and asking yourself questions about the experience. How did it go well like this? And one of my bosses would always say, when things are going too well, I get worried. When they are going badly, I get worried. So I have to stop and ask, why are things going so well? So very, very important that you investigate your experiences, good or bad. The second I is incubation. It's just like incubator where you put a young baby that is not fully developed or preterm, and they put them into the incubator so they can grow. Incubation is putting the baby or whatever it is. It's like a slow cooking. You put it in an incubator. You put the ideas and focus on them slowly. It's like a slow motion, playing back the ideas. And this has got to do with ideas. When ideas come into your mind, you don't quickly rush to implement them. You have to incubate them. You have to slowly reflect, turn them over, just like you're baking a cake. Put them in the oven, you turn it, so that it can bake properly. Very, very important that you incubate your ideas. Reflect on them slowly. You may want to write those ideas down and come back over and over to them and think about them. The other thing you have to do when you are reflecting, the third I, is illumination. Illumination is placing value on your experiences. What is the value of this? I lost this deal. How important is this loss to me? In other words, what is the aha here? Even if you won the elections, what is the aha? What is it that made you learn or win, that business, that success? How important is it to the whole process? That is illumination. What lessons do you learn from that experience? That is illumination. It's so critical and so important that you pick the lessons from that. And then illustrations is expanding your experiences into other lessons. So you went through an interview process and so many questions were asked. You could not answer some of those questions. So you begin to pick those questions and look at them and say, if you have to go to another process, if you have to experience another situation, how will I deal with this? That is illustration. Illustrating in different forms. It's like taking a pen and drawing up a picture of what is going to happen in the future and how you're going to deal with it. Now, if you're able to take all these four elements of reflection, investigating, incubating, illuminating their experiences, and illustrating them into other fields, you're going to make the best of all your experiences. So that is so important for us when you are reflecting. Now, let me quickly take a few minutes and talk about our mind. And I want to recommend for you Dr. Joseph Murphy's book, The Power of the Subconscious Mind. Our mind is invisible. You cannot touch it. Your mind is even not your brain. It is the way you think and the way your thought processes affect your actions and your conduct, consciously and unconsciously. Your mind is made up of two compartments or two segments. You have your conscious mind. Your conscious mind is a creative mind where you actually consciously think and reflect and create ideas in your head that you can feel, and consciously that you're thinking. You're thinking of what you want to eat. You're thinking of what you want to wear. You're thinking of that is a decision you make consciously. But there's another part of your mind that you have no control over, and that is your subconscious mind. And psychological scientific research indicates that your conscious mind controls only 5%, and that is even, for some studies, is even too much. Maximum 5% of all your behavior is controlled by your conscious mind. 95% of your behavior is controlled by your subconscious mind. But together, your mind is what controls your behavior. And sometimes you're doing things that you are not even aware. So let's take those of you who drive. If you are learning to drive, the first day you are in the car, all your 5 senses are working. You are thinking, you are looking, you are seeing, you are feeling. And before you can move a car 1 inch, your leg has to be somewhere, you're feeling it, and you're looking at the mirror, and everything is so complicated for you because you have to look at the rear mirror. Sometimes you have to look at the back, and you're looking at the front at the same time. You're turning the steering and you are pressing the accelerator, and all becomes so much confused at the beginning because you're using at that point your conscious mind. And your conscious mind, which is the creative mind, is thinking, what do I do with my hand? What do I do with my leg? What do I do with my eye? How do I play all these things at the same time? So when you're using your conscious mind at that point, it is complicated. Now, you do that for a day, you do that for a second day, and you do that for a third day, 1 week, and a month of learning to drive. Gradually, you begin to realize that, you can actually start your car, and without thinking, you can move the car so easily. After a year, 2 years of driving, you realize that you can drive your car for kilometers, and you realize that, you have actually not thought about what is going on the street. You can be on your phone discussing business transactions and still driving comfortably. At that point, you are doing that because your subconscious mind has taken over. Your subconscious mind is the programming that has over the years been built into your mind. And it's just like the software on which your computer runs is programmed there. Your conscious mind is like your keyboard of your computer or your phone. That is where you have to watch before you type. But when you press any key on the keyboard, something comes up. Why is it that when you type N-O-N, then you see none on your screen? Because there's a program that you don't have control over. You have control over the keyboard, but you don't have control over what comes up. So when something is messed up in your computer, you type N-O-N, and you see buff or something else comes on your screen, especially when you're using your phone. And when you type something else comes because some programming has gone wrong. And that is what happens to us as human beings. When your subconscious mind is wrongly programmed, what happens in your life, your behavior is affected. So Dr. Joseph Murphy says, every thought is a cause and every condition is an effect. The world within creates the world without. If you want to change external conditions, you must change the cause. Most people try to change the conditions and circumstances by working on those conditions and circumstances. by working on those conditions and circumstances. This is a terrible waste of time. So what does this mean? What is happening to you? Your behavior that you are not able to finish things. The fact that when you go for any interview, you don't succeed. The fact that you're not successful with your date. You're a young lady. Every time a young man comes to your life, within a week or sometimes once, when you go out with them once, they don't call you again. It has happened several times. Why is this happening to you? There is a programming and there is a behavior that you're not conscious of. Maybe the way you talk, maybe the way you behave, maybe some attitude you put up, which you may not even be aware of, is putting people off. And that is in your mind. And that is what is creating the external conditions you are finding. Now, if you are worried about just, saying the men and this and trying to just address the condition of the men, and the next man that comes, you say, the last time I went out with somebody, after I went out, he didn't come back to me again. Are you sure when we go out this time, will you come back to me again? I don't want to go out with you and tomorrow you don't come, and you begin to deal with those circumstances or situations. You are wasting your time, because that situation has been created by a condition in your mind, which is the cause. So your mind is so powerful, and reflections is what enables programming in your mind. You focus the ideas on your mind, and that the longer you focus on ideas, the more they imprint on your subconscious mind. All right. Another quote from Joseph Murphy, doctor: the law of the mind is this: the reaction or response you get from your subconscious mind will be determined by the nature of the thoughts or ideas you hold in your mind, here, your conscious mind. So the things you think about, the things that occupy your mind, that you see, those ideas that you hold in your mind will go to reinforce your subconscious mind, which will then give you the response. But he says that the law of the subconscious mind, once the subconscious mind accepts an idea, it begins to execute it. The subconscious mind works for good or for bad. So if, as you grew up, like I grew up in the village, we were taught that snakes are very dangerous and you have to avoid the snakes by all means. In that situation, what happens is that if you see a snake, the first thing you do is run, because that's what you've been taught. Because your subconscious mind has been programmed to accept that snakes are dangerous. But there are people who study and learn snakes and they love to just play with snakes. When they see snakes, they are not afraid. They know the different types of snakes. And when they see a snake, they're actually excited and they can go to the snake, kind of talk their language, take the snake, put them around their neck, and they know how to handle the snake. It is because their subconscious mind has been programmed not to run away from snakes. That is the power of your subconscious mind. And so if you want to program your mind, you need to think, reflect, and the 4 I's that we talked about, very, very important. That you investigate ideas that are coming onto your mind, that you incubate those ideas, that you illuminate those ideas, and illustrate constantly those ideas. That is the key. If you're a programmer, those are the source codes that you use to program your mind. And that way you'll be able to reflect in your life and your behavior the things that you have programmed in your subconscious mind. All right. So let me just quickly share a few quick thoughts because I see our time running. Reflection for personal growth. Everything we're talking about is to help you to grow, to become a better person, as I said. Okay. So Jim Rohn says, at the end of each day, you should play back the tapes of your performance. The results should either applaud you or prod you. So at the end of your life, your day, your week, your month, and as we get into the end of the year, Take the tapes of your performance. How did you do today? Write them down. Where did you do well? Where didn't you do well? Write them down. And if the results are good, they would applaud you, they will encourage you. But if they are not good, they should also push you to do better. And that is the source of growth. Reflections, very, very important. How do you reflect personally? You reflect personally by asking the right questions. So if you don't ask the right questions, you will not get the right answers. I remember when we're students and you go to exams and you see a question and you say that, you call the invigilator, I think this question is wrong. I've done that a few times. I see a question in the exams room and I call the invigilator, and the invigilator came, I said, this question is wrong. Because I'm reading the question and what I'm reading is wrong. Then the invigilator comes, read it, maybe sometimes go and consult with the examiner, and the examiner look at it and say, there's nothing wrong with the question. Go ahead and answer it. Now, when you read a question wrongly, or when you ask the wrong questions, you would never get the right answers. So when you want to reflect and grow, you have to ask the right questions. I'm going to go through some questions quickly for you, and you can note them down as questions, the right questions you need to ask yourself to grow personally. 1, what are my biggest assets? What do I do well? What are my strengths? That is a question you should ask yourself constantly when you are reflecting and if you want to grow. Because when you know your assets, then you can use your assets to grow. What are my biggest liabilities? What are my weaknesses? What are the things that hamper me? I'm a people's person. My biggest asset is my ability to connect with people. On the same time, that biggest asset for me as a person sometimes becomes my liability because I'm not able to disengage with people. So I have somebody I'm working with or some people I'm working with, and I can see the performance is not good. But because I connect with people and I want people to be better people, I'm not able to let them go. And that becomes a liability. What is my highest high? What is it that gives you energy? I get a lot of energy standing in front of people and teaching, like what I'm doing now gives me a lot of energy. In fact, I've been running the whole day. I felt very tired. But since I started talking, I see myself, I have a lot of energy. What is my lowest low? What weakens you? What is it that gives you low energy? When I hurt people, I just go down. And even when I feel like I've hurt somebody. So you have to examine these things. These things will help you. Other questions, what is most fulfilling to me? What is it that gives you satisfaction? What is my most prized possessions? What do I not know about me yet? Now, if you want to grow, you want to ask this last question seriously. What is it that I don't know about me? And begin to investigate. And here, I would encourage you to find some personality assessment, whether it's or any form of assessment, strength finder, and so on. Just go on the online personality assessment and find a bit more about yourself. You will know a bit more things you didn't know, then you can work on. So for personal awareness, ask these questions, because if you don't know yourself, you cannot grow yourself. You have to know yourself to grow yourself. Right. So I have here a few areas where you can quickly look at your life and run through them and ask yourself how you're doing on these areas. I call them areas of personal growth. And here, I want to encourage you to find Vishen Lakhiani's book. Vishen Lakhiani's book. The title of the book is The Code of the Extraordinary Mind. The Code of the Extraordinary Mind. On this platform, we share resources with you so you can go and learn and grow. And these are some of the areas where you can focus on, ask questions that we've asked, and grow. your skills, your spiritual life, your career, your creative life, your family life, your community life. How do you relate with the environment where you are? Your love life, your friendships, adventures. What are the things that you want to do and experiment? Your environment, your health and fitness. Are you doing enough to take care of your health, your body? All your ideas and aspirations and visions and dreams reside in your body. How do you take care of it? Your intellectual life. These are areas where you can focus on to reflect and grow. The next last bit that I want to share quickly is your reflections with your team as a leader. When leaders reflect positively, they find that over time, their teams begin to reflect as well. So as a leader, when you practice reflection personally and also with your team, and we're going to share some quick thoughts on that, your team begin to reflect. They will reflect positively, they will reflect on the key events and reflect on each other and reflect on trust in a way that will help them to engage better. So you need to inject reflection into your leadership style. 6 quick points for how successful leaders reflect with their teams to get them better results. Number 1, leaders reflect. Studies have shown that for every negative or bad thing that happens or statement that are made, there may have been made 5 positive statements. But a lot of the time, we just focus on the negative statement. People say a lot of good things about you, but you focus just on the one negative, and that brings you down. Good leaders, successful leaders, reflect on the good. They look for the good in their teams and what they are doing well, and they positively reinforce what they are doing there so that they bring back positive energy. Number 2, leaders reflect on what has just happened. You don't wait for 1 year, 2 years before you go back and tell your team member you didn't do this well. No. Or something bad happens and you keep it and you don't say it. Leaders reflect on what has just happened. It is important to find time and pause after something significant has happened and think with your team about it. Now, the 2 approaches you can use, one of 2. You can stop when the thing is so critical. Stop, look at what has happened, then start again and continue. And when there is an aircraft crashes, when an airline crashes, in one place, one flight, that airline will stop all the flights. Why? Because it is important to reflect. Why did that aircraft crash? Is there something in the whole system that needs to be reviewed? So stop, start, and continue is a process you can use even in the middle of a situation. Or the other situation is that you do go through the event, and after the event, you sit back. So when you have had a major event and a major conference or activity, product launch or whatever, you sit back with your team and you reflect what has gone right, what didn't go well, and you learn the lessons using the principles we've explained. Number 3, leaders help others to reflect. Feedback, candid, constructive feedback is so essential for the growth of your team and your team members. So successful leaders take the time for meaningful talks with their teammates. They want to talk with them. Why? Because they don't want to wait till the end of the year. They want to do that frankly, timely. They want to informally give feedback. That is how you grow your team. Number 4, leaders reflect trust. It's very important that at any point in your life, you're thinking whether what you're saying and what you're doing are in sync. Closing that gap between your deeds and your word is so important to build trust. So you should willingly reflect that trust with your people. Trust them so that they can trust you. It's absolutely important. Successful leaders reflect trust. Number 5, Successful leaders reflect before engaging. When something has gone wrong, when a team member has really messed up, and you're going to talk to their leader, you don't just start and talk to them immediately in the middle of everybody. No. We have a village proverb that says that you don't stop in the ants, driver ants, and remove the ants. They will eat you up. So when there's something, you have to reflect carefully how you're going to communicate. And here, empathy is very important. Yes, a team member may have messed up, but what is it? What went wrong? How is the person feeling after that? All right? And the last point here, successful leaders reflect their aspirations. Where are you going with the team? You have to, with the team, reflect and share with them, feed forward your ideas and where you want to go. It also includes the models and mentors and heroes you are looking up to. Successful leaders, all successful leaders have people they are looking up to because of where they are going, and they emulate them. Share this with your team because your team is also looking up to you. Okay, so that's Aristotle says, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is not an act, but a habit. It's very, very important. All right, because of our time, I'm just going to end here. But let me just say that one of the tools that you can use to reinforce reflections is actually meditation. And meditation is actually going really, pausing and going into your mind. And there are different methods of reflection and meditating, and you can find your own ways. But it is important that you cut off all the noise, find a place, go to yourself, stop your breath, go inside yourself and go into your mind and bring your mind to a level where you can program the ideas and the way you want to go. All right. I have here a method which I will not be able to do because of the time, but we'll see if we have time during the discussion. I'll go through what it's called the envisioning method, where you have to reflect in your life, look at what your environment in your mind's eye is, what things can you be grateful for, what things do you have to forgive in your life, how can you envision a great future for yourself, how do you envision a great day for yourself. And I want you to just, as you're going with me now, just take just a few seconds and just breathe in at this point and just imagine in your mind's eyes the world that you live in, where you are. Imagine all the people around, encompass in compassion and love around you. And look at your life and asking yourself, what can I be grateful for this whole year? 2022, what can I be grateful for? What are the pluses? In your mind's eyes, yes, there may be things that have not gone right, but can you, in your mind's eye, forgive yourself, forgive the people, and let it go? And then envision 2023. Just think of what 2023 can be. Envision the positive things that can happen in your life, and just plug them into your spirit, in your mind's eyes. See all the great things, great work, great relationship, great success, the promotions and the achievement, the businesses that you can envision in 2023, and break them down into the days. Just tomorrow. Are you going to wake up tomorrow and have a great day and begin the day and then give blessings? Whatever bless the Lord, bless the day, bless the good things you have. This is a method that can constantly, every day use to reflect and meditate. And if you do this, you will find that everything that is happening in your life can come together and you can reprogram your mind for a positive outcome every day. And finally, my last word. We've looked at reflections and we share how your mind works. We share the importance of reflections. We share how you can reflect personally to grow. We share how successful leaders reflect with their teams for great results. Henry Arnold says, the wise man questions himself, the fool others. And I say, as we say in our villages, it is only the fool whose goat gets lost twice. So, how do you do that? You do that by stopping and reflecting. And I want to thank all of you for the time. And thank you, Sarah, for the time. I will take questions and discussions. And God bless all of you.
Wow, wow, wow. That was powerful. Thank you, Sam. That was awesome. I really liked the envisioning, just pausing, even if it was very short, it was powerful. So thank you. So while you take some water to dry your throat, let me see what comments we have here in the chat. Okay, Douglas is here. Miss Abby, now Mrs. Anoy is watching live from Pram Pram. Congratulations. And Gisela is here from Switzerland. Great to have you here. Martin Atiako Franda says, happy to join live today again. God bless you, Brother Ayim and the team. And Martin Atiako Franda says he's from Accra. Gideon from Accra Heritage College. I don't see any questions here so far. So please, if you have questions, comments, contributions on this beautiful reflective session that Sam has shared with us, let us have it in the chat. And whilst you do that, I'll have Kofi play for us the advert for the 15 laws to give you time to put in your comments, your questions for Sam, because we still have a few more minutes that he can expand on anything that may have not been clear to you. So Kofi, if you're ready, you can bring up the 15 laws so that people who would like to sign up for next year can see how they can do so. Kofi, over to you.
Navigating through life without a coach or a guide can be very deceiving, making you come to think that you have achieved the highest or the best you can ever, or you have made the best of decisions. But until you become very intentional and take a good stock of your life, you would not realize that it's a mistake.
Pain helps you to come out of your comfort zone.
The law of intentionality and the fact that learning is a lifelong journey if you want to be significant. Emphasis on significance.
Previously, I used to be very unintentional about the things I do when it comes to my family, my work, my Christian life, and basically everything that I do.
In the pursuit of that growth, there are gaps. There are gaps that we need to conquer. These gaps include the knowledge, perfection, mistake, inspirational, timing, and assumption gap.
And I will encourage you to be part of CTL Africa's 15-week growth journey.
I encourage you all out there who need to live their life to be part of CTL Africa's growth journey.
Please take advantage of this program and your life will never be the same.
Thank you very much, CTL Africa, and continue to impact the world. God bless.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kofi, for that. And as we can all see, this is just one of the laws for the 15 laws. So imagine if you took all the laws, the 15, what insights and how you can grow yourself to the maximum. So please contact CTL Africa for the next intake that will be in the new year for you to really grow in your personal life that will affect your team. Okay, Sam, we have some few questions and some comments for you. I have 3 questions from Emmanuel. He says, great presentation, sir, so insightful. I have 3 questions. So, Sam, if you're ready, note them down so you can answer this for Emmanuel. Number 1, is there a specific time of the day for reflection? Number 2, is there a specific place for reflection? Number 3, how do we handle distractions like the phone, the noise around us during reflection? Thanks so much. So Sam is getting ready to come up, Emmanuel, to answer your questions. And he's here, Sam, the 3 questions. And as you're preparing to answer them, I'll read out Gisela's comment that she's saying reflection is very important for our nervous system. Many people fall sick because they don't take time to reflect. In addition to bringing change in our thinking, reflection brings us closer to our hearts. So that really connects us to the heart. Okay, Sam, the 3 questions that
Sir.
Emmanuel.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Sarah, ask Kofi to bring me my charger. All right, but let's go on.
Okay, all right. So while Kofi is bringing you your charger, because we don't want to lose you, let me
Yes.
read what Iriam has said. It says very timely.
But I can answer I
Okay.
can answer Emmanuel's questions.
Okay, there you go.
But you
All
can
right,
go
over
ahead.
to you.
Yes.
Yeah, over to
All
you
right.
then.
Okay, so Emmanuel is asking if there is any specific time or place to reflect. Well, each individual has to choose the right time and the right place where they can reflect. In the morning, you can reflect forward your day. In the evening, you can reflect backwards your day and see what has happened in the day. So there is no specific time. Even in the middle of the day, you can stop and reflect on the day so far. So maybe during lunchtime, during the break time, you can reflect. Also, when something significant has happened, you can pause and reflect over what has just happened, as we discussed. So your reflection time should actually be what is convenient to you. And the place to reflect can vary as the sizes of our nose. It depends on your own environment. I can tell you where I do a lot of my reflections, in my bathroom. That's where I do a lot of reflections, because you talk about distractions. When I'm in my bathroom, generally nobody is going to come and disturb me. They would be thinking of what I've been doing there. But that's where I sit, and usually sit on my WC and just close it. And I'm just reflecting and meditating on so many things. And I can spend a lot of time. Sometimes when they are like, hey, what are you still doing in the bathroom? Well, now I'm telling people in my house are used to it, that they know that I spend some time. But if your environment is noisy, then you have to truly look for a place, go out of place. Maybe once a year, you may want to get out of the house and go to, some people can go into, when I was in the village, you go under the cocoa trees and reflect. Here you don't have, you can go to the beach and reflect. So there is no rule as to it is what is convenient to you and what purpose and what timing you are looking at. In terms of the distractions, if you are reflecting intentionally, then you have to intentionally put away some of the distractions which you have control over, like your phone. So when it's your time for reflection and meditation, maybe you switch off your phone or just put it on silent. Okay, there's some music that you want to use for your reflection that may be on your phone. Put your calls but on silent so that the calls don't come through, and or maybe whatever, so that your messages and so don't come to you to disrupt your timing. The noise in your office and in your environment sometimes can distract you. But there are some people who are also actually, even in the midst of a very noisy environment, when you are used to reflecting and meditating, even in the middle of some very hectic environment and noisy environment, in the public transport, in the public train, in the aircraft, you can still create within your mind space to reflect. So that's what I would say to that. And I agree with Giselle when he says that, reflections and meditation can help us, actually can have a lot of health benefits. In fact, our mind, our subconscious mind, actually causes much more sickness than your genes. Now, the book that I'm reading now, I actually finished reading and reviewing and working on it. The title of the book by Dr. Bruce Lipton, Professor Bruce Lipton, is The Biology of Belief. And scientific research and scientific development is now finding out that actually your mind, your thoughts, your thinking processes, your perceptions can actually affect your biology more than your genes, and in fact can even affect your genes. So your reflections are very, very important for your health. A lot of people have had heart attacks because they had accident, they have messages or news that they are not able to process. But if you are used to reflecting and meditating, when you have a big news, sad news, good news, your processing is able to absorb them. It's like a shock absorbers. You develop a lot of emotional shock absorbers if you master the act of reflecting and meditating. All right, thank you. I hope that I answered all those questions.
I think you do. Emmanuel, let us know in your comments. Yes, it says, thank you so much for the answers. Yes, thank you, Emmanuel. Okay, so now Ayim says, very timely and relevant message, especially as we end the year. My takeaways, thoughts, and our causes, conditions, our effects. A million thanks, sir. Okay, so let's see Bright. Bright has a question. He says, he really enjoyed the presentation, but can you elaborate on how your assets and liabilities influence decision-making to make progress at workplace? How your assets and liabilities influence decision-making to affect progress at workplace. And then Aram also has a question that says, how do we reflect in a way that energizes into action rather than paralyzing us into inaction? So these are the two questions for you.
All right. Thank you so much, Bright. Bright and Aram, thank you so much. Now, Bright, knowing your assets, knowing your strengths and your liabilities or your weaknesses is very, very important. Now, there are some of us who are result oriented. Okay. When you are result oriented, it can be an asset. But if you're not careful, that can also work against you and your team. Now, result oriented people get things done, and they cannot understand why others cannot get things done. And sometimes in their bid to get things done, what happens is that they ignore the emotions and feelings of others and the team members. And the results become more important than the people who help to achieve the results. And that is how the strength or the assets and liabilities can affect progress at the workplace. It can affect it positively when you know your strength and your assets and you're using them positively, but also knowing your weaknesses can also help you to avoid the other. Let's say you are a perfectionist. That can be an asset because you get things done, you get quality, you are accurate, and you think before you move, which is all assets for you. But that perfectionist approach can also delay work. And sometimes with your perfectionist eyes, nothing satisfies you. And people's best efforts, you may not appreciate them. So that can be also a weakness and can affect progress because you want to nitty pick everything and you will slow the progress. Whereas the result-oriented, action-oriented person want to move 100 kilometers, you want to move 20 because you have to take time. So marrying those things, knowing those things can help us to work together better. You know, this is an action-oriented, this is a perfectionist. So if you want to give more time for the perfectionist, at the same time, the perfectionist knows that he has to work faster so that the action-oriented, result-oriented person can get his results. So that's how this affects you. Now, with Aram's question, it's very important because there is something they call the paralysis of analysis or something like that. The French has a very beautiful expression like that. I'm trying to translate it loosely into English. But if your reflections or thinking become pedantic, in other words, if you just focus on just one thing without a conscious objective as to what you want to get out of the reflection, then you will not make progress. And if your reflection is actually worrying, and there's a big difference between reflecting or thinking and worrying. Now, worrying is when you get stuck, when events happen and you're stuck and you're taking a very negative approach to what has happened and feeling like the whole world is against you and nothing is going to happen and you're not sure what to do about it, and you allow that to just cloud your thinking capacities. That is not reflection. And that is where inaction can happen. And so we are talking about reflecting positively. You have to have the objectives, you have to have your goal, you have to know what is going on, you have to see the experiences, and so on and so forth, examine them, get the illumination, get the lessons from them, and apply them. If you don't apply the lessons, then, like John said, it's just a mere experience which will not help you. But that experience has to be examined and the lessons applied for you to make progress. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. And Bright says, all right, you explained it very well, so he's happy with that. And I can't see any more questions. So I'll come back to you, Sam, to give us your closing remarks so that we will call it an evening. But still, Sam is here. If you have questions, bring it up. We have time, 10 more minutes, and then we'll call it a night. So over to you, Sam, for your closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Sarah, and thank you all those who introduced yourselves and who asked questions and who made comments. And thank you all those who connected and did not introduce yourself and didn't make any comment. It is our hope that this presentation at this time of the year has been helpful to you. Now, the end of the year is typically when a lot of us are reflecting on the year and thinking about what has happened or not happened. And so we want to encourage you that you take your reflections seriously, intentionally, deliberately, and positively. Take your reflections intentionally, deliberately, positively, so that you can get results. So if you're going to get results from your reflections, it has to be intentional. Nothing will be achieved just haphazardly. And intentional means that it has to be planned. You have to have fixed times within the day, fixed times within a week, fixed time within the month, fixed time within a year, because there are things that you want to reflect on daily. There are things that you want to reflect on weekly. There are things that you want to reflect annually. Some people will use their birthdays or some significant event as pointers for annual reflections. Check them down. Check your diary. Check your calendars. What are the things that you spent your time on? What are the things that went well? I gave you some of the areas of reflection. Even your finances. What Take stock, reflect. What are the things that you spent your money on? Could you have spent it differently? Could you have saved better, more, or what? So there's a lot of things that you can reflect on. So we want to encourage you to use these principles that we have shared here to be able to focus on your specific particular areas where you need a bit more growth, where you need a bit more intentionality, and hopefully that should give you some resources to have a better year. So on that note, I want to wish once again those of you who are just joining a Merry Christmas, a very Happy New Year in advance. Asarak, this will be our last leadership platform for this year, and we would come back on I think it's the second Saturday of January is when we will resume, and we're going to have you the new menu, at a full menu of leadership ideas, leadership speakers, leadership lessons, and experiences of great leaders that you're going to learn from next year. So we want to thank all of you who have been very faithful every Saturday coming to share with us throughout the year. All these lessons are there on our YouTube channel. They are there on our website, and we encourage you. They're also there on our Facebook pages, and we encourage you to take advantage of this. But we also have our programs, which we encourage you to join. And next year, we're going to do more. We're going to have the laws of leadership. We're going to have how to develop a leader within you. We're going to have DISC. We're going to continue with the growth journey. And we're going to start the year with Put Your Dream to the Test. We will encourage you to look out for the registration link on Put Your Dream to the Test and let us register. We're going to do that, I believe, the first week of January or the last week of, I think it's the first week of January. Please, we'll share this with you. Register and let's learn how to put our dreams to the test in 2023. Thank you, Sarah, and thank everybody. God bless you.
Yeah. Thank you, Sam. And thank you to all our viewers. Thank you so much to Kofi and Abigail, who have always been supporting us, and also to all the speakers who have been on this platform this year. It has been an amazing year, and I join Sam and the rest of the team to say Merry Christmas in advance and a very happy 2023. So until the second week of January, we are signing off from the leadership platform for 2022. Thank you for always being here with us. And bye-bye. Good night to everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
There is a popular saying in leadership that if you think you're leading and there's nobody following you, you are only going on a walk. On this platform, you are going to learn principles of leadership. You are going to encounter different leaders. You are going to learn about how you can grow as a leader, how you can make an impact. My name is Samuel Ayim, and I'm the host for the leadership platform. I am a leadership coach, a lawyer by profession, a John C. Maxwell certified coach. I have been in corporate life in senior positions for several years, and now I run the Center for Transformational Leadership, where we train and coach leaders to become better leaders. And I invite you to go on a journey with us as we discuss the subject of leadership in the coming weeks.
This and every Saturday, you have opportunity to ask questions, share your views on important leadership matters.